I was the anaesthetic and recovery nurse on call for a weekend shift for emergencies only at the hospital. I was called in on a Sunday morning at about 5:45 in the morning for an emergency caesarean section. That went ahead eventually, and then after the operation was finished and the baby was delivered, my patient came out to recovery. Soon after, she began to deteriorate, and I needed medical assistance. Once that happened, we soon got back to the operating theatres to start the next emergency operation for this young lady, and then she deteriorated again throughout that operation. We needed to then finish up that as quickly as we could, and she required transferring out to a major hospital in Sydney. On that following day at 11 o'clock in the morning, I found out that life support had to be turned off and she didn't survive. And that was one of the toughest moments I've ever felt in my life. That was my biggest challenge within this 49 minutes, that it came down to focusing on my sole input with this patient, was that I couldn't get medical assistance fast enough. I don't know why they left without giving me better instructions or contact details or anything like that. And I don't believe they've ever been challenged over that either. Even though we've been through a coronial inquest and then I've gone through 2 more hearings following that, I don't believe that things have changed enough for this to not happen again.
In fact, for parents to sit there in a coroner's court and see her battered and bruised by at least 7 barristers.
5 hours.
For 5 hours she was on the stand, far longer than any other person from the medical team.
She loved theatre, always loved the theatre, ever since she went into nursing. That has completely gone.
She has experienced depression in its really severe form of being needing to be hospitalised when she was at some stages feeling suicidal.
It's important to note that she was exonerated on fact, not on a technicality, and not only exonerated once, but she was exonerated twice. The HCCC appealed the first decision. They wanted to flog a dead horse at the taxpayer's expense.
The realisation that work colleagues that you feel would always be there to help you, suddenly they're not there. And people who are big enough and powerful enough are just not honest enough to say, it was me that dropped the ball, not this nurse. Those people disappear. That's a very, very depressing situation, because you have to go back and work with those very same people who showed no loyalty, no mateship, no hint of responsibility, by saying, well, actually, it's partly my fault, or perhaps I'm involved. People ran for cover. That's almost un-Australian. Despite a 5.5-year legal process, they have not made those same recommendations that we made in the first 5.5 weeks.
Even though I've been exonerated, it's bittersweet, because the destruction along the way to my health, my personal life and my finances has been huge. She told me that the baby was going fairly well, and I said, have they named her yet? I couldn't believe that they had chose the name that I had suggested, and I must admit that was a pretty amazing, special feeling, but boy, did that make it even harder, the whole tragedy. It just seemed like it was just, it was tragic. It was tragic.
If you had one chance to do it